You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
Hello, I'm Stephanie Ruff.
And I'm Aviva Nebeski.
We're the hosts of the Dressage Today podcast, where you can find us talking about anything and everything dressage related. Our conversations span the world of dressage, from leading riders to local level dressage heroes. We're talking training advice, showing tips, and sharing stories to inspire your own dressage journey. So tune in, then tack up. Welcome to the Dressage Today podcast, sponsored by Equithrive. If you are getting ready for show season, then you definitely want to listen to our interview coming up later with Robyn Nunnally, who is, among other things, a technical delegate. She's here to answer a lot of questions people have about navigating the show scene. First, however, Aviva is going to share some of her recent horse news. Because you have horse news.
I do have some horse news. So some folks who know me know that I've had a very difficult 6 months, and I have unexpectedly and expectedly lost 3 of my 6 horses, which was really very devastating.
Yeah.
And at one point, I was down to only 3, and one of them was Leo with his EDM, and Freddie with his metabolic disorder, and Tiger, who is fabulous, wonderful, and perfect in all ways except 22. And so, much to my husband's dismay, I decided that I needed another horse.
Of course.
And I had some pretty clear ideas of what I wanted, and I didn't want to spend a lot of money, and I didn't want a big fancy international quality horse. I just wanted a horse that was already, under saddle, safe, with 3 correct gaits, and comfortable gaits, and pretty inexpensive. And I put out a request on Facebook, and I got, lots of horses that were, and within 3 hours of where I live. And I got some really lovely horses in, Kentucky and Florida, and that's not 3 hours away. And I wasn't in a really big rush, but I just got a little frustrated. So I went on Dream Horse, and I put all of my parameters in, and this, little horse came up, and his name is Ralphie. And he was 3 hours away in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. And he is an American Dutch Harness Horse Association horse. And I watched the video, and he was just correct and cute and seemed like a good guy. And he's really little. They tell me he's 15.3, but I think they're lying. I think he's smaller than that. But I went up, and I walked into the barn, and one of the girls was standing there braiding him in the wash stall. And I walked up and I said, "Hi, is this Ralphie?" And he says, Yes, I am. My name is Ralphie. Are you here to see me? I'm really excited that you're here. What's your name? Did I tell you my name was Ralphie? And he was just so sweet and so engaging that I fell in love with him on the spot. And then I watched the woman ride him for me, and he's green. I don't think I could go out and ride a training level test on him, but he walks and he trots and he canters and he kind of steers. And I went to get on him, and he played all kinds of little games with me. I've never been led before. Well, I just saw you getting led. Oh, okay, I do lead. What is that? I've never seen a mounting block. Well, I just saw her get on you. You know what this is? Oh, yeah, you're right. And, he just played little games with me, but I rode him, and I just smiled the whole time. And I just smiled, and I felt safe, and I liked him. And my friend who came with me videotaped my entire ride. And she's a small Hanoverian breeder, and we were saying goodbye to him, and we went to lunch, and she said, I think he has the sweetest eye of any horse I've ever met. So I sent the video of me riding him to my trainer, and she was not in a position to be able to go and try him with me. And she just watched the video, and she said, I love him. He's got 3 good gaits. He's fancy. I think he's a good athlete. Buy him. So I arranged a pre-purchase, and he passed with incredibly flying colors. And that day, I went up with my trailer. He was pre-purchase vetted. He loaded on my trailer. It was the first time he'd been in a trailer in a year and a half. He drove, 3.5, 4 hours because there was traffic, back to my barn, unloaded, went into the stall. My fabulous saddle fitters came out that night. I put him in my indoor, which he had never seen. He doesn't know me at this point.
Right.
Rode him in 2 different saddles, bought a saddle, and he's now part of my herd. And he's just mostly fun. He's 7 years old. He's very, very immature. He's more like riding a 3 or a 4-year-old, but he wants to be a good boy, and he tries really hard. And I've had 1 lesson on him, and he was fabulous. So, fingers crossed. We're going to be talking to Robyn soon about, TD things. And I'm going to have to sit down with the Annex A for bits and see whether or not the bit I picked is legal. And he's really hard to fit for a bridle. And I've had him for only 3 weeks now, and I'm already starting on my 3rd bridle because he's very strangely shaped.
Does he have the long, narrow head?
He has a very short head and a very big jawbone and a really fat muzzle.
Okay.
And although his ears are set very close together, like a saddlebred, because, of course, the Dutch harness horses originally, they were drafts crossed with saddlebreds, and you can see the draft in his butt and his feet. You can see the saddlebred in his ears. His head, honestly, it's not very pretty, but it's very, very cute. And again, he has a very sweet eye, and he's also very interestingly colored. I sent a picture of him up to my friend Jen Hoffman, who we interviewed a while ago about long lining, and she said he's a Rabicano, which I had never heard of. So, of course, I had to go start researching. And he is a Rabicano, and it's a sort of genetic anomaly. They don't really know what causes it, but he has a big white belly spot almost under where the girth is. And then he has another big white belly spot right near his sheath. He has what's called a skunk tail. He has a ring of white around the dock, and he's rony around his loins.
Interesting.
So he's a dark bay, but he's just he's different. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with him other than enjoy him and have fun with him.
Right.
And I'll keep you guys posted. But, so far, so good. He's just, he long lined with Jen after he'd only been here a little over a week, and he was absolutely perfect. And as I said, Cheryl came and gave me a lesson on him, and he was absolutely perfect. So fingers crossed that he stays that way.
Yeah, definitely. Our Ask the L question this month comes from Sarah. So, Aviva, she wants to know if you could please explain the difference between the submission score and the effectiveness of the aids score. And these are both in the collective marks.
Okay. That's a really hard question. Again,
you say that every month. Every month you say that.
But you guys ask really tough questions. So what I did for this question, and I think this is important for everybody to do, is I pulled up a USEF test and I went to the collective marks, because you should understand what each of these is. And I'm glad that Sarah asked. So I'm going to give you more information than you want. There are 5 collective marks. 2 of them are double coefficient marks, and that's the impulsion score and the submission score. People usually get those 2 confused more so than the effectiveness of the aid score. The impulsion score, I like to think of it as the horse score. The desire to move forward, the elasticity of the steps, the suppleness of the back, the engagement of the hindquarters. Those are certainly things that a rider can influence, but some horses are more elastic than others. Some horses are more naturally forward than others. So the gait score and the impulsion score, I kind of think of, this is your horse is a nice mover. This is what the horse would get if you weren't up there interfering with them. Either for the good or for the ill. The submission score is a lot like a rider's score, and it is similar to the correct and effective use of the aid score. The submission score talks about the horse's willing cooperation. It talks about harmony. For those of you who used to show back in the day, there actually used to be a harmony score. And now it has been sort of folded into this submission score. The submission score talks about how the horse goes in terms of accepting the bit, straightness, correctness of self-carriage and frame, bend, all of those kinds of things for the level at which you are showing. The effectiveness of the aids talks a little bit more about what the rider is doing. So, for instance, I see you prepare for a canter transition and you ride a lovely, quiet, subtle aid and your horse bucks. Okay? That's going to go under the willing cooperation harmony, quote, submission score. I have seen you, the rider, not smack your horse with the whip, not gouge your horse with the spurs, but ride a very quiet, patient aid. Your correct aid score is going to be a little higher in this case than your submission score. However, your effectiveness is a little bit down. So if you simply read the definition of submission, willing cooperation, harmony, attention and confidence, acceptance of the bit and aids, straightness, lightness of the forehand and ease of movements. And then you go down and you read the rider's correct and effective use of aids. And that is defined as clarity, subtlety, independence, and accuracy. Did you hear accuracy there, Stephanie? The geometry police here. So you can ride a really beautiful test and you have a very submissive horse and you ride beautifully and you ride inaccurately. Your 20-meter circles are not placed at E and at B. They're down at one end or the other. Your 15-meter circles are 10-meter circles. Your bend isn't right. You're going to get dinged on that correct and effective use of the aids. Your aids are loud. It says clarity. So I want to see a clear aid, but it also says subtlety. So I want to see not a gouge with the spur. I don't want to see a bang with the leg. I don't want to see a crack with the whip unless it's appropriate. I want to see you actually try to ride first. I want to see an independent seat. I want to see independent hands. So where the submission score is about the horse's reaction to the rider, the effectiveness of the aid score is, are you a good rider? And
Right.
Those are, all of the collective marks are definitely tied together, but there is an emphasis that is slightly different for each thing. Hopefully that helps.
There you go. Yes. See, you say
That's-
these questions are hard, but
they are
they're
hard.
not.
They are hard. Dressage is hard. Dressage is hard. And,
It is.
It would be much easier if we were all, gymnasts, because then it's really just about us. But this is
Right.
about us and the horse. And,
Yeah.
we have to judge the horse because the horse is a member of the partnership. But horses don't generally have agendas and riders do. So a lot
Right.
of this truly is about the rider. And, it's not, I know that I've been guilty of saying it too. We've all said things like the rider, the judge didn't like my horse, or the judge didn't like me. And if you say that, I would suggest take a step back. What is it that you think the judge doesn't like? If the judge doesn't like your horse, is it because your horse is hollow and tense and above the bit? Well, I don't like that because, that's not dressage. Does the horse not like does the judge not like your horse because they don't particularly like that kind of mover? Most judges have a bias, but we don't generally show that quite that blatantly when judging. Yeah. If the judge, quote, doesn't like you, what is it about your riding that the judge doesn't like? Again, do you have really hard pulling back hands? I don't like that.
Yeah.
I know, and all judges, I think, know, we're all on your side, really and truly. 99.9% of us really do want to give good scores and reward you. And we all do recognize that you're doing the best you can that day. And sometimes things get in the way, and sometimes we get nervous and we revert to some bad habits. But that's not the judge not liking you. That's the judge noting that you're not doing what really is appropriate. So that's the end of my lecture. I'm done.
Okay. Stepping off your soapbox now.
I am. I'm down. I'm down on the ground where I belong again.
All right. Well, if anybody else out there would like to, get
give me hard questions,
give you hard questions and give you an opportunity to get on your soapbox, please let us know and reach out to us on social media. Coming up next is our conversation with Robyn Nunnally. Trying to choose the right supplements for the right horses often feels like a chore, and you have enough chores as it is. Fortunately, there's Equithrive, whose mission is to make this whole nutrition equation easier on you and much more beneficial to your horses. Equithrive's lineup of pelleted supplements are developed with care, backed by science, and 100% satisfaction guaranteed. Not to mention picky eater approved. Whether you need advanced joint care for your equine athlete, plus hoof, gut, or metabolic support, Equithrive is your one-stop shop for feed tub fortification. So stop wasting your time and money. Do yourself and your horses a favor and visit equithrive.com. Use the promo code Dressage today to get 20% off your first order, plus free and fast shipping nationwide. Robyn Nunnally is from Suffock, Virginia. She grew up riding hunters and then Arabians before focusing on dressage. Today, she is a USEF Large R judge and C2 steward in Western Dressage, a USEF Small R Dressage Technical Delegate, and a C2 steward. She is also a USDF L Graduate with Distinction and a Bronze Medalist. Thank you so much, Robyn, for joining us on the Dressage Today podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So you are a TD or a technical delegate for dressage. And so Aviva and I wanted to bring someone on to kind of answer some general questions, as so many people are getting ready to start their show season and they're, ramping up for everything. So we just thought we thought it would be good to help remind some people of some things that might have changed or not changed, or given them some tips and tricks as they get ready to start showing. And Aviva thought of you right away.
I did.
So there you go.
I did.
I hope that I can answer all of the questions.
Oh, I know you can, Robyn. I have no doubts.
Well, we're going to jump right in with one of the ones that has been, I guess probably a popular change. And Aviva and I talked a little bit about it when it first came about. And that was when they added some new colors to the color palette of dressage people and allowed them to wear things other than white and black or navy blue. So as a TD, have you seen a lot of people take advantage of the new color schemes? And is it mostly good, or have you seen things that have pushed the limits, or what have you seen?
I would say that quite a few people have taken advantage of being able to wear some different colors, but maybe less than 50% at shows. I think the change that has been the most popular has been not having to wear light colored breeches.
Mm-hmm.
People are wearing black or dark gray. But it's not been every single person. We're certainly seeing, I would say, at least 50% of the people are still wearing what we think of as the traditional white or light colored pants with the, black coat. But people have come up with some really beautiful outfits. Sometimes I walk around at shows and I'm like, gosh, look at that. It really, the colors are all coordinated and they're really nice. And every once in a while you see something, and you kind of go, oh, wow, okay. That's maybe not the best choice. And I think for riders, you can take advantage of this new rule to accentuate the positive, to put a little fun and a little color in your outfit, but accentuate the positive and not draw attention to things that don't need extra attention drawn to them, such as, if your hands aren't the most quiet, then maybe you don't need the gloves with all the bling on them. If your feet tend to, be a little noisy in the stirrups, maybe those rose gold stirrups aren't the best choice.
Yeah.
So, use it to your advantage and have some fun and video yourself maybe before you go to a show, or, have your trusted friend, your friend that's going to be blunt and tell you the truth.
No, I'm glad you said that, because I know sitting at sea, sometimes I see people come down centerline with the really blingy helmets, and they're really busy headed, and the sun is shining and there are sparkles everywhere, and it's so distracting. And I think maybe that wasn't the best choice. It's very pretty, but maybe you don't want to accentuate the fact that your head is all over the place here.
Yes, exactly. So, and sometimes I say, just because you can doesn't mean that you should.
Yeah.
Right.
So again, just, read the rules and see what you can do and make good choices, and maybe have somebody else, verify that, yes, in fact, you have made some good choices here.
I know there's some confusion with the colors that, the jacket and the boots need to match and things like that. Can you talk a little bit just about what needs to match, what doesn't need to match?
Well, it doesn't need to match until higher levels.
Okay.
At the lower levels, that's not a requirement.
Okay. That's good for people to know.
Mm-hmm. So just read in the DR 120, and 121 addresses tag, but 120 talks about the attire. Just read it and see what you can do. Boots have to be made of smooth leather, like they can't be suede. You can wear half chaps, and again, the half chaps have to be smooth leather, and half chaps need to match the color of your paddock boots if you're going to wear those.
Mm-hmm.
But we're seeing a lot of colors of boots, and I think that's one area where people really have embraced these new rules. I mean, I've seen pink boots, I've seen light blue boots. It's not really an issue until you get up into the FEI.
So for the smooth boots, things like the snake skin don't fly.
Well, if the snake skin is smooth and not like a suede, it is okay.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm on a bunch of boot groups on Facebook, and there's always so much. Can I wear these? What do you think?
Yeah. And think about when you are buying these boots and you're getting ready to go to a show, think about your judge sitting at sea. Is your judge going to have to stop you and ask, can I examine those closely? Again, make good choices.
Yes. Yeah.
And if you have questions about stuff, you can always take a picture of it and send it to USEF and get a ruling directly from them.
Yeah.
And then they will respond in an email, and then you can print that out and take that with you to shows.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so that's always a good resource. And they have the final say on all of these issues.
This isn't really about clothes, but this is something that I know has come up for some of my students over the years. There is no rule about riding in sunglasses. Is that correct?
No, there is no rule about riding in sunglasses.
Okay.
And I've never really had anybody like a judge or another official question
Okay.
Using sunglasses. I have to use sunglasses all the time when I'm in sunlight, and I rode and showed with sunglasses.
Yeah, I actually had a student, and the judge told her that it was inappropriate and rude. Didn't tell her it was illegal, but inappropriate and rude, which I thought was very interesting, since it's not a rule, and she, like you, has visual issues that require her to wear them. Just an aside.
Again, and I might just counsel somebody to wear. The word that's coming to mind is discreet. I'm not sure sunglasses are discreet, but maybe you don't want to wear the rainbow colored reflective aviator type glasses. You just want to wear, just basic sunglasses that fit close, on your face and don't slide down.
Yeah.
Right.
But to my knowledge, riding in sunglasses is not illegal and shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
Right.
There have been so many changes over the last few years with bits. Can you talk a little bit about that? I know that there was an issue with the bochet with the length of the shank, and they were all the same. There was no bochet that actually had a shank that was approved, and that's changed. And now the French link isn't allowed anymore. What do we need to know about bits right now?
What you need to know about bits is that the bit rules is like a cobra on hot coals. It is a living, breathing snake that is constantly writhing and trying to get away from us, or strike us, for that matter. Lots of changes in bit rules, and people must read the USEF rules on tack. You have to look at the current version of the Annex A to make sure that your bit is currently allowed. You cannot go to a tack store and depend on the person that is working on the tack store to know these rules, because even at horse shows, the little trucks that are shops that are at a horse show, vendors don't always know the bit rules.
Well, and there's so many new bits out too.
Yes. So I am not on the working group or the rules committee, so I don't always know the logic behind their decisions. The boucher, there were a few manufacturers that had legal bouchers last year, but the rule has changed. We're back up to 7 now instead of 5. So most of the bouchers now are legal. The new Shula is not, because that's about 9. That upper hanging cheek is 9. But you actually need to get a ruler out and measure that upper cheek on your boucher to make sure that it is legal. And if you go to a show before you compete, TDs are happy to look at your bits. We want you to ride in legal equipment because we don't want to have to write this up in our report. It's more paperwork for us.
Yeah.
So we're happy to look at your bits and stuff before you show. So last year when I was going around measuring bouchers, and I told people, I went, don't use this at this show. Don't throw it away, because next year it's going to be okay. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid of your bouchers. Just measure them to make sure that they're okay. For the French links, that's definitely been a very unpopular rule change. kind of hard to explain, but I believe the reason for making them illegal is that the manufacturers were changing the orientation of that centerpiece and making them angled.
So they were more
so that
like
instead of lying
bristle.
flat, exactly,
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
and had the effect of being a control plate
Okay.
and pushing, down on the tongue and up on the palate. And there's simply no way for us to know what you've got in your horse's mouth, whether you've got a legal one, an illegal one. There was just no way to know, so they just made them all illegal.
Okay.
So as long as your bit has like a lozenge or a cough drop shaped piece in the middle, you're okay.
Can it be a different metal than the rest of the bit, or does the whole bit have to be the same metal? Okay.
Does not have to be the same metal. They can be different metals.
Okay.
And again, as I say, if you've got a bit that you're not sure about, if you're a couple weeks out from a show, take a picture, send it to USEF. If you're there at the show, just bring it up to your TDs, and we'll take a look at it and let you know whether that's going to be okay.
Yeah. Are these sort of the most common mistakes that you see people making with tack, or what are the most common mistakes people make?
Well, probably at most shows. It's not uncommon to find a bit that is illegal. Last year, particularly with the bouchers, in my area, they're very popular. Some things that I have to fuss about with people, or now we're having to write yellow cards or warning cards. It's a requirement. People, when they're done with their warm up and they're taking their earbuds out, they unbuckle the harness of their helmet. If you have to unbuckle that harness, you must dismount. That is not optional.
Okay.
So make sure that you time your warm up in such a way that if you need to dismount to take those earbuds out, practice that at home to see. If you can get them out with your gloves on and your horse maybe being a little distracted and not standing still.
Yeah.
Right.
Another thing that is very common at shows that we have to sort of fuss about is loose dogs. You have to keep your dogs on a leash. And if we see a loose dog now, we have to issue a yellow card, a warning card. Yeah. It's not optional for us. I think it's little things like, they're actually not little things. Those are big things. If you get a warning card, it's just not really a little thing. But there's always something that, maybe catches my eye. And I just, try to go over and correct people and, just keep it from being a problem going forward.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You're talking about the yellow cards. Tell me a little bit about that. That it sounds like soccer.
And I don't know anything about soccer, but we have always had an opportunity to issue yellow cards or warning cards. It's the same thing. But the USEF, the Federation, is sort of encouraging us to do it, to use them more. And what they're doing is if I issue a yellow card to someone, it goes in your record at USDF.
Okay.
And if you receive a certain amount of yellow cards within a certain time, the Federation may take some action against you.
Okay.
And it sort of depends on what the yellow cards are issued for, things like that.
Okay.
But the Federation is tracking the repeat offenders. Okay. And so if every time you go to a horse show, your dogs are loose, there's obviously a problem there.
Right.
Loose dogs can be a safety issue. If we're constantly issuing a yellow card to the same person over and over for lunging with a double bridle, and people always go, "Oh, I didn't know that was a rule." It's allowing the Federation to track the repeat offenders.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then what tips would you give to people who might be showing at this level for the first time? Maybe they're taking a step up from schooling shows and they're actually, coming to one that actually has a TD that can give out yellow cards. I would be mortified. If I ever got a yellow card, I would be so mortified.
Well, and let me just go back a little bit. Sometimes we give yellow cards and the people legitimately do not know that they have done something wrong.
Right. Or
sometimes we make a correction and people legitimately don't know they've done something wrong.
Yeah.
It does happen. So don't be scared of your TDs. We're trying to educate you so that you can show the best, and we're educating people to level the playing field for everyone.
And for the safety of the horse and the riders.
Yeah, exactly. Because that is our number one priority is we are there to advocate for horse welfare.
Yeah.
But for people that are coming to their first recognized show, it's certainly an intimidating experience, can be an intimidating experience. Enter early so that the show secretary can help you make sure that all of your many memberships and USEF and DF, and, all those numbers and memberships and your safe sport training and everything is up to date. Because there's a lot of numbers that are required for owners, riders, trainers, coaches, horses.
Yes.
Signatures that have to be obtained. And you don't want to get to the show and check into the show office and you're scrambling to, get your memberships up to date. So enter early and reach out to the show secretary and let them help you and guide you through that process. Definitely get yourself familiar with the showgrounds. Know where your stall is, know which warm-up ring goes with your show ring, know where your show ring is.
Yeah.
There's been tons of times, people are going, where's ring number 3? It should generally your prize list will have a diagram of where everything is. Read that, be familiar with it, know where you can and can't go. And also ask this may be in the prize list, it may be posted in the show office. When can you warm up?
Right.
Is there a time when you can walk your horse around your ring or actually school in the ring the day before? Know what those times are and, make sure you've got yourself acclimated and oriented to where you're supposed to be.
That's great advice. Yeah, the warm-up is such an issue.
And there is and know where to lunge.
Right.
Is another thing. There's a religious fear that says you must check in at the show office before you can do any schooling. So time your arrival at the show, in such a way that, you got time to check into the office, get your number, and then go school.
Right.
Yeah. So also sometimes people that are new at their first licensed event, anytime basically that your horse comes out of the stall, put a number on your bridle or your halter.
Yeah.
You can't school, or even if you're out hand walking or something like that, your horse needs to be wearing a number. And the reason for that is, if something happens, we can at least identify the horse and know who you are and things like that.
And that's true for non-competing horses as well, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, it is. Good point.
Any tips for riders in the warm-up ring? That sort of separates the horses from the ponies for a lot of people.
And I wish we could separate the horses from ponies.
Yeah, right. You're right.
Some horses are afraid of ponies. It's funny. A common thing in the warm-up is people don't give themselves enough time to warm up. When you come to a show, you're maybe a little nervous, your horse is a little nervous, everything takes a little bit longer. And again, at that last minute check of your equipment, you've got your gloves on, and you can't get those earbuds out. You can't get your neck wear done. You can't button your coat. Your horse doesn't stand still for the wraps to be pulled. Just allow yourself extra time always.
Yeah.
What makes the warm-up helpful is when you report into the warm-up area, go to the steward and say, hey, I'm number whatever, 25, and I'm here. Warm-up ring stewards are not there to get you to the ring on time. They will do that but that is a courtesy to you.
Yeah.
That is your job as a rider to get yourself to your ring on time. But if you have checked in with that warm-up ring steward and they've checked you off their list, they're sure going to help you whenever they can.
Yeah.
But it's amazing to me, riders just come right into the warm-up and they never even look over at the warm-up ring steward. Know your time. Don't keep riding over to the warm-up ring steward 10 times and go, I forgot my time. You can have, whatever. Everybody gets nervous and you forget. But, know your time, know the horse you follow.
Yes, right.
And then you can find that number in the show ring and that'll help you with your warm up. So things like that, and again, know which ring you're showing in, know how to get there and all those things. And make sure that you've looked at your ring to know when it is your time to show. You're going to make that warm-up lap around your ring. Are you going to be able to go around the outside of the ring? Is there enough? If there's not enough room, then you'll have to do your warm-up lap inside your ring.
Right.
And then decide if you're going to do that inside the ring, then when the bell rings, are you going to leave the ring and come in again? Are you going to stay in? Figure out all that stuff. Have a plan before, the spotlight is actually on you.
And know how long you have once the bell rings.
Yes, that's right. It's beyond 45 seconds. And I do know some judges that have little timers.
Yeah.
That are preset for 45 seconds. So, judges are checking that.
Absolutely. So what can we do as riders to make things go more smoothly for you as the TD? Aside from being nice.
Don't be right, yeah.
Right,
be nice.
Be
Be nice to us. Yeah. We're not the police. It's not like being sent to the principal's office. We are there our main job, as I said, is for horse safety and welfare. But we are there to educate people. If something's going wrong, we want to fix it in such a way that you can continue to show and have a good experience. We want the playing field to be level for everyone. This year, we are back to rules checking equipment ringside. Ring stewards now are checking 1/3 in every class, checking equipment. So when you come out of your test, if you're one of the chosen 1/3, the ring stewards are going to visually check all of your equipment. Your bridle, they'll be looking for spur marks on your horse or any blood. They will not be sticking their fingers in the horse's mouth to check bits.
Okay.
But they're checking the length of your whip. If you have an ear net on, you have to pull the ear net. Ring stewards are not allowed to reach up and pull those off. The riders have to do it, or someone who is with the rider.
Yeah.
To make sure that there's, no illegal stuffing in the horse's ears or anything. But, and TDs can check bits ringside. We can put on gloves and stick our fingers in the mouth ringside and check horses. But we are now required, this is a new rule, we are checking 50% of bridles at all shows. And at large shows, that's a lot of bridle checking.
Yeah, it is.
So we're asking most shows to hang your bridles outside your tack room when you get to the show in the morning.
Okay.
Just go ahead and go ahead and hang your bridle outside your tack room. We will not touch it. We're just looking at it. If we have to touch anything, we're going to put a glove on. I'm not going to touch it unless you're there, and I'm still going to use gloves.
Yeah.
But if we see your bridles hanging up and you've got your number on your bridle, then we can, go ahead and get that checked and, marked off our list as part of the 50%.
Okay.
So when the TDs are doing the barn walkthroughs that we have to do every day, it's a good opportunity to meet your TD and talk to them. And, if you've got any other questions or any concerns, that's a good chance for you to talk to us and, let us know any issues that may be ongoing, But yeah, I mean, if riders know the rules, it's helpful.
That's a good thing.
And we have to look up a lot of rules. And I do this a lot too. People ask me stuff and I'm like, okay, let's get in the rule book and look it up. So we like to research. We like to look up rules for you. So don't be afraid of that.
What is your most memorable event that you've had as a TD?
My most memorable show, I guess, would be getting the opportunity to be a TD at Dressage at Devon. I was the second TD. It's been a few years ago. Fran Cross was the head honcho TD, which was great because, I just did whatever Fran told me to do, and it was awesome. But Dressage at Devon was an amazing atmosphere.
Yeah.
Just a really unique facility. It was great just to see so many incredible upper level rides and, all the riders and the trainers and the shopping and all of that. So, that's something I will always remember. And it was like an honor to be there with that group of people.
Was it one of the rainy years?
It did not rain the entire time I was there.
Yeah.
So I don't know why. I'm not sure why they don't keep asking me back.
Exactly.
I brought the sun.
Obviously you bring luck.
I know. You brought the nice weather.
Funny.
So what is it that you enjoy about being a TD?
I've always loved going to horse shows. I grew up showing. I've shown most of my adult life, and I have a physical disability now that keeps me from being able to ride or train and compete. So being a licensed official in various capacities just allows me to continue going to horse shows. I just love the environment. I love being around the horses. I love talking to the nice people. But I do, enjoy just educating people and making people aware of the rules. And, we can put out some fires and that, inevitably happen at shows and make it an enjoyable experience for everyone. And, if I can correct some small issue that a rider has, with a rule, a piece of equipment, and then keep them from being eliminated at a show, say a regional championship or a national championship, if I can keep that from happening, then I feel like I've done a good job.
Yeah, definitely.
But I get to travel a little bit. I go, sort of up and down the East Coast and meet different show managers and see different facilities and, different areas. I really enjoy doing all of that.
Having people be mean.
Yes, definitely. Unfortunately, there is that. Sometimes we have to be the bearer of bad news. As TDs do not have the power to eliminate. Only show managers and judges can actually eliminate or disqualify people. But sometimes we're the ones that has to deliver that message.
Right.
And that's not fun. And people, can be very emotional. If they're being eliminated, they put a lot of hard work, money, time, effort, and, here, it's not going to count.
Right.
And sometimes people, do get angry or very upset. So no, that part is not fun, but it is part of the job. And it is, as I said, keeping the playing field level. And, you try to deliver the news as easily as you can. And, but nobody likes to be the bearer of bad news, unfortunately.
Of course not.
No, I was at a show once, and the person stabled next to me was writing her first ever 4th level test. She wrote the test, and the score was something like a 72%. And she was eliminated because she was still wearing her wraps. And she couldn't decide whether she wanted to cry because she got eliminated or whether she was so excited about the 72%.
Right.
You just feel so bad for somebody. It was like, where was your staff? Where was your groom? Where was somebody?
That sure is tough.
Now, in
it?
a situation like that, as you're going around the arena, can the judge tell the rider, you're still wearing your boots or your whatever, or no?
I believe that technically a judge could say that, but and I think most judges would feel this way. You can't say that to one rider if you're not going to be willing or able to say that to every rider.
Yeah.
So, judges a lot of times when, the rider's leaving the ring, they're finishing up their collectives, they're writing their final narratives, making sure all the scores are there, signing tests, all of that. Yeah. And they don't look up, until they're ready to ring the bell and the next rider comes in the ring. So judges may not have a chance to say, hey, you've still got your wraps on. So I think most judges kind of are not going to say anything. Because as I said, if you can't do it for every rider, don't do it for just one.
Right.
And that's another thing too for riders. Make sure, always encourage riders when you're doing that warm up lap, go to the far end of the ring. And that is, and just say to the judge or the scribe, hey, I'm rider number 25 and I'm here for first level test 3. That allows the judge and the scribe to make sure they've got the right test. They've got your number on the, on your test sheet. It's not an opportunity for you to start a conversation about, gosh, it's a beautiful day, or my horse is nervous, or I've never done this before. Those are not appropriate comments, but just a greeting, good morning, I'm number 25, I'm here for first level test 3, whatever. Just makes everybody's job a little easier.
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and turning just a little bit from traditional dressage, you are also a large R Western Dressage judge and a steward. So what made you want to get involved in Western Dressage?
I had a friend, Kathy Rouse, who is a S judge, who basically told me that I was going to do this, and I said, yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, there you go.
When Kathy tells me I have to do something, I don't argue. And so Kathy said, you're going to do this. And I said, okay. Kathy also told me that I was going to become a TD.
We're glad she did.
Okay.
I follow directions well, so that's how I got started in it.
All right.
When I first saw Western Dressage at mortgage shows, and I had never heard of Western Dressage, but I went, oh, wow, how cool. We're doing dressage in a Western saddle, and the silver and the bling and the outfits are incredible. And I kind of love playing, going back to that make good choices. I'd be one of the ones that would have some bling in inappropriate places, maybe.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was so cool and so beautiful. And it also gives horses and riders who maybe aren't going to excel in our regular dressage, gives them a place, an opportunity to excel.
Right.
The horse's movement in Western dressage, we've got breeds, most breeds are not warm bloods. So maybe not the flashiest movement, not the knee action and the suspension, but really good horses that, can just excel in that training atmosphere. And some riders feel a little more comfortable in a Western saddle. You can't have a horn to grab hold to if you need to.
Yeah.
The horses can go just a little bit slower. They can jog instead of trot. And so, some riders, you can have it's your choice more so in Western, whether you're going to sit or post. So some riders that, maybe posting was hard, if their backs are bad, they could sort of sit there and a jog. So I was really lucky to get involved in it from almost the very beginning. And, and just say, gosh, this is a place for some of the horses that aren't excelling in regular dressage. Riders that are a little intimidated by regular dressage, gave them a place and an opportunity to go to shows.
Yeah.
So it's been great. And it's been great sort of watching that sport grow over the years.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and our last question for you is, if somebody listened to this conversation and was like, wow, I really want to become a TD now, what would they do? How would they get started?
We really need TDs. We also need stewards in USEF. So if it's something that interests you, please look into, going into a program and getting yourself started. The best thing that you can do to prepare yourself to become a TD is to go to a show and do literally multiple times every job that is at a show. Every volunteer position, do it multiple times. Every part of a show staff, do it multiple times. Do these jobs under different show managers. So you learned there's different ways, different show managers have different ways of doing things. Expose yourself, get that experience. Even as a rider, I think it's very, very helpful, to have the experience. As a rider, that's not a requirement, but think about all the different aspects of showing. Anything that could happen, you want to have some background, and you want to be able to say, so this happened and here's how it was handled. Just go to all the different shows that you can go to and just immerse yourself in that experience. As far as actually getting in a program, those requirements do change periodically. I know it's different from when I became a TD. You'll have to do some apprenticing, with TDs. You'll, ride around with us at shows in the golf cart and, see how we handle things. And that's another thing I love about being a TD is I get to ride around. So much fun, isn't it? Well, and one show that I go to, they give me a really fancy golf cart. It has turn signals on it.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, gosh, I'm not qualified. But, and if you're a rules person, like I think people that know me know that I'm kind of a black and white person. I don't have a lot of gray areas. I love rules. And so if that's something that you're interested in, definitely look into what the requirements are, and just get as much volunteer or show staff experience as you can.
Yeah.
And, and please look into it, because we definitely need definitely need more officials in that area.
Great.
Okay. Good to know. Well, maybe there will be some people out there that will take you up on it.
Okay.
So I want to thank you for talking with us today and answering all these questions. Hopefully, you've enlightened some people and stopped some mistakes from happening before they started, and dispelled some of the myths that TDs are fire-breathing dragons. So.
We are not, not if you make, unless you make us. We really,
right. If you're nice to them, they'll be nice to you. That's pretty much,
we're more like a gecko or something than a fire breathing. Thank you, ladies, for the opportunity to do this. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. We're happy to.